Hello, I am Otis Montgomery, and today I'm going to be talking about two different techs that I have used. So the first is Pecha Kucha. So a Pecha Kucha is a 6 minute and 40-second PowerPoint presentation with 20 slides that are each 20 seconds long. And I've used it in a few classes. And the presentation and the layout are really helpful because it sets you up for success, I think. Because it's really simple, really straightforward. As I said, it's designed for success. And I think it really helps people who are bad at making PowerPoints. Even if maybe they don't realize it yet, but most people use PowerPoint wrong, I would argue. With the Pecha Kucha, you're using images and limited text to send your message. A lot of people really like pasting whole gigantic text blocks on their PowerPoint or reading off their PowerPoint word for word. The Pechakucha's design, which what I like about it, is that you can't do that. If you do that, you're not making a Pechakucha. So that helps a lot. One thing I really don't like about it though is the time limit can be really annoying because each slide needs to be 20 seconds. I feel like if I use it in the future or if I have my students use it, I would be a little bit more forgiving on the time. Maybe like 20 to 30 seconds. And it still roughly equals 6 minutes to 8 minutes long. But overall, I really liked it and I think I will continue to use it in the future. Next, we have the smartboard, which there are a lot of different types of them. So I've used it in English classes before, and it's really helpful. I really enjoyed it. Since it's attached to a computer, for the most part, or at least there's so many different kinds of them. I'm using smartboard as a kind of more general term. There's unlimited applications since you're using a computer. It's really limited by the person and their knowledge of the smartboard and computers as well. For the most part, at least the ones I have used, it's really user friendly. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but the learning curve is not so steep. A normal PC is way more complicated for sure than a smartboard, but you can draw on it and there's so many different applications. So that ties into my third point, which is it's more dynamic when you're presenting something, is you can use a PowerPoint on the smartboard and you can start drawing pictures. You can draw pictures on the fly. Someone asks a question, you can start drawing. So it makes your presentation a lot more dynamic. Then finally, at least if you can move it around, which I would recommend, it's not just for PE. It's not just for health. You can move it around to different classrooms or you could share it. Maybe if your school doesn't have the budget for it, but the application is for any class really. Then some kind of basic how to use. There should be a pull down menu. So that lets you do different applications. You can bring out a calculator, you can bring out a clock, you can bring out different lines you can draw with it. But the pull down menu is how you interact with the screen. And for the most part, it uses a computer, at least the ones I have used. This one's a little different in the picture. The ones I've used, it connects to a computer, and then the computer was kind of projecting onto the smartboard. But there's many kinds of different smartboards again. And you can use it just like a traditional whiteboard. You just have tons more freedom. So again, it's really limited by the user. So experimenting with it, trying to find out new different applications is how to get the most of it. You have to be creative. So finally, here are two pros and two cons. First, pro is freedom. As long as I wouldn't recommend attaching it to a wall, I think having it on a base where you can move it around is the best way. So that gives you freedom to move it around. And when you're using it to present, you can wheel it around, you can draw on the fly, is what I like, which ties into being dynamic and being shareable. You can share with your teachers, and you just use it in so many different ways. So, one big con is the cost. I've seen them from $1,500 upwards. So that's a big cost, especially for a school, because you won't be paying for it yourself. That'd be crazy, right? But it is a large cost attached with them. And if someone doesn't know how to use them, which ties into the other con, the learning curve, it's a waste of money, essentially. If someone's just using it as a traditional whiteboard, they're not using any of the applications on it, then it's wasted. So the learning curve and the cost are the two main downsides. It's also space. It can take up a lot of space, potentially, but in my use of them, the pros definitely outweigh the cons. As long as like the cost is the big one. As long as if you could budget for them, maybe you share with different teachers. That's fine too. That's but having used them, they're really fun. Students like them. I like them overall. So just to kind of recap, I talked about my Pecha Kucha, which is a really straightforward way to do different presentations, and about my smartboard, which I am definitely pro smartboard. They're really fun and make your lessons more interesting, I think. Thank you very much. And I am Otis Montgomery.